best ability is your availability, right? We talked how much about Joseph Woll, and what's the one thing holding him back is his ability to be durable.
Yep.
Stolarz has to prove the same thing.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So maybe a little bit more of a runway could allow them to, I don't know, see that. But it sounds as though something could be in the works and could be coming down the pike here in the next week or so as we lead up to training camp. Again, something that we'll monitor pretty closely as we approach training camp. Does a third goalie need to be brought in, or is the Hildebeest enough for the Maple Leafs? We'll have that conversation next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DeStefano, Dave Morsuti with you as always. The Maple Leafs pretty set with their top two goaltenders, one of the best tandems in the NHL, I would say, in Joseph Woll and Anthony Stolarz. But it kind of drops off after that, especially when it comes to experience. You know, in the last couple of years, they've had a third goalie who's had a significant amount of NHL experience. So when an injury occurred, they did have someone who could pop up, right? Matt Murray was there for them. They've gone the Dave Riddick route, Curtis McElhinney route, and, if you're going back a ways. Right now, you look at the goaltending and the depth chart after Stolarz and Woll, it drops off pretty quick. And you get to Dennis Hildeby, the only other goaltender who does have NHL experience in the organization. And that's only 6 games where he had an .878 save percentage last year. Outside of that, no other goaltender in the organization with NHL experience. Is that a concern for you, Dave, and something the Leafs may try to or should try to address prior to training camp?
I think it is to a certain degree because you saw that you needed a third goalie last year.
4. They started 4 goaltenders.
Sorry, 4.
Matt Murray had a couple starts as well.
But yeah, you had Murray, you had Hildeby, you had Stolarz, and obviously Woll. Like, in today's NHL, if you're not ready for your third and fourth guy to start, then you're not prepared. Like, you're just not prepared for what's just, the goaltending position takes a lot, right? And so I think Hildeby, I'm comfortable if they end up saying like he's our third guy. I'm fine with that, just because you're just not finding a whole lot of decent value out there. Like even Matt Murray, like sure he only played twice, went 1-1 in that stretch. I think one game was that against Washington that he played the one game against?
Possibly, yeah. I can't recall what the games were. I just remember him playing.
Yeah, sorry. One was against one was against Washington. They lost 5-2. I remember he wasn't very good in that one. Then he beat Buffalo. Like, those were the 2 games he played, and it was not. The fact that he got another NHL deal after that was good for him. He's got a good agent. Yeah. But like again, that's the bar for teams with third goalies. You're just not gonna find a third goal in the NHL right now that's gonna be like, a rock in the net. It's just not happening. But you're looking for somebody that, if you're down 2 goalies, you're going to have someone that can step in and play NHL games for you. Like,
yeah, in a pinch, right? A guy in a pinch who can come up and who can play some games for you. And, they've got experience. They've been there before. And then it doesn't, you're not throwing Hildeby out to the wolves too early. Like maybe he wasn't quite ready for the NHL last year and having to play those 6 games. He did struggle when he got back down to the American League after the call-up. Did that have something to do with it? Was his confidence shaken? Perhaps. So do you want to ruin that development? It's a worthwhile conversation to have. So maybe you bring in a veteran, who could be his number 2 down in the minors. But when they need a call-up, that guy is the one who gets brought up. So I do have a list of 5 potential goaltenders that the Maple Leafs could look at to bring in as a veteran third goalie. Maybe they go the PTO route. potentially to do this. We do know the Leafs love a good PTO, and they have not yet signed one this year. So maybe it's a goalie that comes in on a PTO. So I'll give you a 5-pack of names, Dave. You let me know, which of these names, if any, intrigue you. So the 5 guys who are still currently available via free agency. Alexander Georgiev, who was an absolute dumpster fire last year. No ifs, ands, buts about it for Colorado, and then he got to San Jose, and he was no good there either. But he is available, and he has played at a high level before, and you're just looking for him to be a third goalie at best anyway. Jack Campbell, speaking of Jack Campbell, he is available, and he is a free agent. Could Jack Campbell potentially be someone that the Maple Leafs entertain to bring back into the fold, back into the organization, to be a potential third goalie? Spencer Martin is another guy who does have a lot of experience. He was in the NHL a couple of years ago, played a lot of games for the Vancouver Canucks, and then last year, I think, or the year before, was with the Carolina Hurricanes. He being a backup there while Fred Anderson was injured, so he's got some NHL experience. Louis Domingue, yes, Louis Domingue. What did he say? What was the quote by Louis Domingue that made him so famous?
He played in that playoff game where he came in.
Yeah.
And they asked him, like, what was the meal between the overtimes, and he said spicy pork and broccoli. And they asked him how was it, and they're just like, not the best. And like, what made it funny is Louis Domingue is French, right? He's got the Quebecois accent to him, so he's like, not the best.
Yeah, not the best. Right, that's what it was. Not the best. So he's not the best goaltender, but someone who, again, lots of experience, he's been in the American Hockey League for a while, so I don't think he'd be upset about taking on, an AHL role, a guiding role, if you will, but does have experience playing in the NHL and experience playing NHL playoff games at that, as we just referenced. Not the best, but does have experience. But here's one for you. What about a reunion with old Jimmy Reimer? James Reimer is still available. He's about like 35, 36 years old at this point. 37-year-old James Reimer. Do you bring him back into the fold to potentially be this team's veteran third goalie? I know that there's a lot of segments of this fan base. Steve Dangle, I'm sure, would definitely approve of that one, bringing Reimer back into the fold. So that's the 5-pack of current free agent goaltenders that I took a peek at and thought might make some sense for the Leafs as a PTO or as a third goaltender. Any of those ones kind of stick out to you, and anyone you think would make sense?
Well, I mean, the vibes would tell me Reimer, just because I met the guy, got his signed hat. He had a sick logo on a hat, but he wouldn't be my top choice. It would probably be Georgiev, because this is like, I know he had a really bad year. He saw himself get shipped away from Colorado, but the Colorado wasn't great.
Dang.
But
he went to San Jose. He was even worse. He had an 874 save percentage and 338.
Who's doing well in San Jose? Like, let's be honest.
But like, he was brutal for Colorado too. He's just terrible. Like, he legitimately could not enter a game without giving up 5 goals. It felt like.
Yeah, I mean, but San Jose is just so bad. Like, it's hard to always like blame it all on the goalie. Now, we're talking about the third goalie here. It's just like Reimer at least played some games last year, and it was for Buffalo, and Buffalo was not very good.
I believe he had like half decent numbers though, if I'm not mistaken.
He had a 901 save percentage, 290 goals against. Like,
in Buffalo. I mean, you think San Jose?
If James Reimer is willing to come back to Toronto, and they sign him tomorrow, like to a PTO, I'd be fine with it. I just thought